Pittsburgh Steelers fans, hey, it is Monday. This is the final hangover of no hangover. This means that football is on the horizon for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they play Thursday night. So 3 nights from now, you are going to be tuning in to the Cowboys and the Steelers, the Hall of Fame game from Canton, Ohio. And BehindTheSteelCurtain.com is going to be talking so much about it. Wow, you're going to get all your Pittsburgh Steelers news, commentary, everything from that game and beyond. And welcome to the Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You could call me Bad. Tony Julius Defeo is on the line as well, TJD. And the one and only Shannon White. He told me his middle name, and I forgot it already. So I'm just going to Shannon Arthur White.
No?
Yeah. Shannon Tiberius White. That's
Edward.
Shannon Edward White. That's right. Because I called you Ted, and you're like, I don't like that. All right. So SEW. We got So in the house. And before I get started, we got so much to talk about. I've got to welcome, this is our new tradition here. It's first guy in, Cam Troy. Troy wins the award for being the first one in. So congratulations, Cam Troy, and everybody else hanging out with us tonight. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much. What's goody to all of you? Problem. There is a handsome devil on the show here. And
Thanks.
You're welcome, Tony. And it's in the background of one Mr. Shannon Edward White's house. Who is that? Is that your son? That picture in the background?
Oh, that's a picture?
Yeah.
That you asked for?
Yeah, that I asked for. Actually, you're ruining my setup. Who is that?
Wow, look at that guy.
Very young me.
Shannon White, a young Shannon White, circa what, 1989?
Look at those dimples.
88?
Yep.
All right. Wow. Check that out. I'm going to have to find mine.
Yeah.
And there's no Tony on record because there's a rumor that there actually is no Tony Julius Defeo, that the real Tony Julius is in the witness protection program and Tony's an imposter, this guy here. So we're not sure if there is a senior picture.
Yeah. I basically didn't exist in high school, so you could get away with that story.
Oh man, that stinks. You would have been my buddy if we were in high school. We would have hung out.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
We would. I mean, the ladies would be loving BD and TD. I'll tell you that.
That picture proves one thing: that being a Steelers fans in the '90s was rough on me.
That was a great run, but it always ended poorly. Every year.
Neil O'Donnell did that to this man.
That's right. He did.
That's right.
He did.
That's why he can't talk about it to this day.
Oh, goodness gracious. Do you see what Kevin Henry can do to a man?
That's right.
All right. All right. We're having so much fun today. I'm going to show off my jersey here in honor of Presley Harvin III. I've got my Presley Harvin III jersey, number 6. So I'm all ready to go. You guys aren't going to out me on that one?
Well, I mean, I think he's got the team made. He's got the team made because I think, everybody wants Jordan Berry, back to Australia. So I think it's a safe one. You can change the name on the back. So you'll be fine.
Oh, so you definitely are gonna out me on it. No, it's not a Presley Harvin III jersey. I wish it was. It's a Hodges jersey. I was the only guy that bought the Duck Hodges jersey way back 2 years ago. So
I remember being at that game with you and Dave, and I saw all the Duck hats. So I'm sure there's others out there.
Yeah,
I was wearing a shirt a couple weeks ago. Remember?
Oh yeah, you had the Duck T-shirt. I was the idiot that bought the jersey. So, hey, like Tony Soprano would say, "What are you gonna do?"
What are you gonna do?
So, let's do it. So, lots of stuff going on. The Steelers, day 10, practice number 10 of camp. Make sure you check out Jeff Hartman on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com on the podcast platform, who did the training camp daily update. Every time they have practice, so there's one on there today. He will also have the Mike Tomlin press conference wrap up tomorrow after the noon podcast, actually the noon press conference. So that's exciting. Everything Steelers you are getting here at BTSC. We actually take you behind the steel curtain. So, with that being said, gentlemen, lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to talk about. But I want to talk about another team and another quarterback before we get started. Another former Pennsylvania quarterback, I guess you could call him. They used to call this state up east, over in the east, Pennsylvania. And now he's in Indianapolis, and he's got an injury. Shannon White. What is that injury?
I think it's a Liz Frank foot injury.
Liz Frank. Now, was she related to Anne Frank?
A distant relative.
Okay. So I was probably a tasteless joke. I do apologize. But the Liz Frank injury with a foot is, it could be 5 to 12 weeks, Tony. So that begs the question. Every time somebody gets hurt from somewhere else, Steeler fans look at the roster and say, hey, who could we unload that we're not using? Do you feel that there's a Steeler that could possibly be heading to Indianapolis if they can get a deal made?
Talking about Mason Rudolph, the backup quarterback. He's under contract, right? So, I mean, maybe they're looking for somebody who could maybe start in the NFL. He started back in 10 games back in 2019. Played a few games last year. What do you think they can get for him?
Shannon White, you said something before we went on. Go ahead.
Well, I think a fourth rounder would be to try to recoup some of the draft capital they've lost. They've used on, draft days in recent years. And, if they would offer a fourth rounder, the Steelers, depending on Haskins and what they think of how he's playing, and they would have to at least consider it.
Would they really get a fourth on that?
I think.
Tony, go ahead. Your thoughts.
I'd say probably maybe a little bit lower than that. But I have a question for you guys, because based on his pedigree, and if Wentz is down for any period of time, and the fact that the Colts are a pretty good team all around, what if they get super excited about Haskins and want to bring him in, and because he's a first round pick and he started in the league for a year and a half. So what about, you think they might be able to fetch something for him, like a higher draft pick?
That would all depend on what he does in the first couple of weeks. And that's probably, there's not time for that, but I like what you're thinking, because I mentioned Haskins as well. That's when Kevin Colbert would need to sell a bill of goods and put his sales hat on and say, oh man, he's tearing it up in camp. You should send somebody down, blah, blah, blah. You can do something like that. Andrew Wilbar says, I think they want to see what they have in Eason though. That's fine, but remember, this is not to start. Eason could be the guy that you want to see to start, but you don't have Jacoby Brissett. He's a Miami Dolphin now. The guy's not there anymore. You need to add to that quarterback room. Look when Nick Foles went down for the Jacksonville Jaguars at the beginning of 2019, and look what they had to do there. They went out and they traded for Joshua Dobbs. And they traded a 5th rounder for it. So will Mason get a lot? Nah, I would think that a 4 would be awesome, because they gave away a 4 in the Loudermilk trade. I think that's a little ambitious, though. I think you could get a 5, even if you got a 6. Even if you got a 6 out of a guy like Mason Rudolph, that's not the worst thing in the world. But I would love to see a 4 or a 5, but I don't even know if that's going to happen. There might be other guys on the list as well, but I'm sure that the Colts are going to be shopping.
Yeah, all you have to do is have the Colts management read our Behind the Steel Curtain comment threads.
Yeah.
And they will see how many people believe in Rudolph and think he's the second coming. And the Colts aren't telling what their offers.
Well, if they did that, they'd probably offer a 6-pack.
That's only half of them.
That's right.
Half of them believe in him. I'm telling you.
Now, Steelers Pittsburgh says getting rid of Mason is a mistake. I get that, but when this happens, you kind of think of what you can get on the other end, and you think of somebody like Dwayne Haskins, and if he could be the real deal, then you've got a wealth of quarterbacks. But we just don't know, because we're not in camp right now to we're not in that room to know exactly. They know better than we do. So if you see them shopping a guy like Rudolph, then you would know that they're high on Dwayne Haskins. Mm-hmm. So that's right. Probably what would tell the tale. But I haven't heard anybody talk about trading Rudolph. This is just, we've invented this. The three of us invented this before we came on. Right. So, but it's something that happens all the time when these things happen. So you think about it. I remember, Tony remembers, both of us are still feeling the sting of finding out that Bruce Gradkowski was going to be, was injured right at the beginning of camp. I believe it was right around August 1st. Yeah, because it was the trading deadline for the Pirates too.
Right.
And what happened, we wrote articles about the possibility of the possibility of Michael Vick coming to Pittsburgh. And boy, they weren't happy. The masses weren't happy. You should have seen some of the emails we got, Shannon White. It was pretty ugly. But that's, you go out and looking, and nobody was bringing in Michael Vick to be the starter, but they were bringing him in for depth at that time to be the backup. So it's pretty interesting. Those things happen all the time when we're talking about this. So let's look at some other things. We're looking at camp. We're talking about what's going on in camp, and there's expectations, guys, in camp when you have guys like Cam Heyward on your team and Ben Roethlisberger and TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick. You have even Najee Harris. There's expectations that these guys are going to be good. They're going to carry the team. Then there's the guys that are on the team fighting for the 53-man roster, that have been on the 53-man roster, but where we've already written off. When I say we as fans and the media somewhat have gone around and said, Zach Gentry's garbage. I mean, he's gone. He's as good as gone. They're looking at everybody else. I don't think Zach Gentry's garbage. I haven't seen enough of him to know. When they drafted him in 2019, Tony, what was the word that was associated with him when he was drafted? He was a former quarterback out of Michigan, and then he was a tight end. What did they say? It's the P word.
Project. He was a project.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He was somebody who took a flyer on in the 5th round, basically.
Shannon White, when you get a project, you got to give them some time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it surprises me, I'll be honest, because part of the problem of being 6'8" and starting your collegiate career as a quarterback, is to add enough mass, muscle, functional strength to play tight end. And because he's going to struggle to get leverage. Now he has the length and the reach that he can jam guys and block, keep them, away from him if he can develop enough functional strength. But I wasn't expecting anything at all out of him this year, and I'll be totally honest about it. And it's very encouraging to hear all the good reports coming out of camp thus far.
And Robert Doc Holiday 66 Sadler says Gentry has been doing well in camp on blocking and has been catching well. Yeah, there's a lot of big things. So that's a guy that we weren't looking for a week ago. Now, when this game comes up on Thursday night, we're going to be looking for number 81. I have a feeling they're going to be going to this guy too. So he's probably going to be the main option. You're going to see a little bit of Muth. You're probably not going to see much of you're probably not going to see too much of Ebron at all. Dax Raymond's gone. They brought in another tight end, but gosh, that doesn't give this guy much time to see action. He just came in on Friday. So, you could possibly see a lot of number 81 there. So I can't wait to see him. That's great. So this is the number one guy that I think of when we talk about players that the Steelers can possibly count on this year. When I say count on to make the 53-man roster, count on in a reserve role, count on that weren't being counted on. Actually, never been counted on. These guys never been counted on before, especially when you're a project. So I love it that they have they have a guy that the project might be paying off. This doesn't mean that he's going to be a superstar. It doesn't mean anything. All it means is that he's in the equation and he's not being written off. We could pull him back because everybody was writing this guy off.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you'd find number 3 tight ends. I mean, I think that's where a 5th round pick, a guy who used to be a quarterback, like Shannon said, he had to kind of develop his body, find the functional strength to make it at the pro level, and now he's starting to make waves in camp as a blocker, if nothing else. And who knows? You can't put a ceiling on anybody, as far as I'm concerned. A guy that unproven, maybe he'll go on to become a very decent pass catching tight end. And again, if I'm not a star, who knows? Again, you never know. But I mean, this is where you find your number 3 tight end. So guys like this. So I'm excited to see what he can do on Thursday against the Cowboys.
Andrew Wilbar says if Gentry looks even okay, Alfredo Roberts should be assistant coach of the year and be the top HC candidate for teams in 2022. LOL. But that's an interesting thing. We're talking about how excited we are about Adrian Clem. I'm excited about Alfredo Roberts too, just for the fact that this guy has the tight ends fired up. They've got a nickname. I forget what the nickname is for the tight ends.
Right.
It's,
what is?
I think it's your initials, ain't it? And then
we're allowed to say it in that form.
So I think it's badass, right?
Yep, it's badass. Yeah. So yeah, we're not going to get pulled off the air for that. But Kid Rock has a song, American Badass, so it's okay. Yeah, Alfredo Roberts is a guy to be excited about too, because he has these guys fired up too. I'm looking for big things out of Ebron and Muth, but to have somebody like Gentry there. Now, somebody I really respect in the live chat, I'm going to bring up Felicia. Bad. Some player shines during camp and dim during regular season. I'm not buying it.
Well, he hasn't really had it.
Yes, absolutely. And I understand that. But Felicia, I want you to think about something, though. There was no training camp number 2 for Zach Gentry. They were at camp, but there was no preseason. And I think that preseason is pretty huge. You're going to see a lot of guys from the 2020 draft jump up a whole lot easier than guys from the 2019 draft did last year. And I think that, hey, I'm not even afraid to say it. I'm wondering, even though he had some flashes of brilliance, I'm wondering if a lack of preseason hurt Deontay Johnson last year. It quite possibly could have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like I just lost on a game show there.
Well, and I mean, his biggest problem to this point is drop passes, but he's still been an incredibly productive receiver over his first couple of years. He's just a young receiver who's still trying to find his way. And if he corrects the drops, what are people going to have against him? I mean, I know it's a big thing for a receiver, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing guys like him play, not in the preseason necessarily, but early on in the year to see how much they've improved.
So let's talk about Deontay Johnson real quick. And we weren't going to, because he has been accounted on before. They counted on him before. But now it seems like nobody's counting on him because of the drops, and he's been put in another category. Is this a make or break year for Deontay Johnson? Shannon, I'll start with you.
Last year, when he had such a bounce back there at the end of the season, where he did hold on to the ball, and he was starting to show he could get deep, like in that long pass in the Colts game. And if his work ethic changed, they said he was staying after practice, and putting in the extra time with the jugs machine and anybody he could get to throw him the ball. Well, this year at training camp, they say he's the first guy out there and one of the last guys to leave. Sounds a lot like Harris. And so I'm expecting, he realizes his weakness, and a lot of it was just concentration. And he's putting in a lot of work. And those guys, when they do that, usually you see the benefits on Sundays or in live game action. So, yeah, it could be a huge year for him, but I'm expecting a bounce back season. I really am.
Tony, your thoughts on DJ 18?
I really like him. I really think he's a talented receiver, and he's shown us a lot over the first 2 years, even with the struggles, even with the drops, even with lack of concentration, I guess, focus, because I guess that's what you can attribute the drops to, maybe. But no, I mean, I think this isn't a make or break year for him. I think they're going to want to. He's too talented for that. He's already shown us how talented and how big of a focal point he can be for this offense. I mean, look at how productive he was in 2019, his rookie year, without Ben, with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges throwing him the ball. So, no, I like him a lot, and I think a lot of people are like this nowadays. It's like either somebody's great or they totally horrible. There's no in between. And I think with a young player like that, you have to give them time to improve and to make mistakes and to get better and to become true professionals. And I think you might see that this year with Deontay Johnson. I'm really confident in him. I really think he can go on and be almost an all-pro level tight end. I mean receiver. I'm sorry.
Some
Tony,
guys, young guys especially, can get the yips. I mean, they're scared of getting used to it. Was get ear hole, but that don't happen anymore. You can't go to the head, but they still don't want to get their bell rung.
Mm-hmm.
But with him, you could tell it wasn't a lack of courage. It was that he wanted to catch that ball and run with it because he's so quick. He knows once he gets the ball in his hands, that's where he's the most dangerous. So he's first got to secure that catch. Then he can, use that quickness. And but that's part of maturity, and I think he will.
Look at Steelers Pittsburgh saying this. I think Deontay is still leery about getting his bell rung and bleeding from the ear. Could that? I'm a huge fan of the new show, the new season, also of Ted Lasso, and you can't say the Y word in Ted Lasso because that's like a jinx word. So I can't say the word. But do you think that's the reason, guys, that Deontay started having some problems? Because he did get his bell rung and he was bleeding like crazy. He did come back into play that same game. But do you think that could be a part of the problem? You could say the word. I just won't say it.
I don't know what it is.
The word?
Yeah.
The yips. Oh gosh, I said it.
Oh, okay. I said yips earlier.
The Y word, yeah.
Yeah.
Watch Ted Lasso if you get a chance to see that on Apple TV. It's the greatest show ever.
Yeah, I don't think that's it, though. I really don't. I mean, just watching him, if you watch his eyes when they do the close-ups, right when the ball's coming in, guys that are worried about getting hit, they're looking, trying to see where the defender is.
Right.
He's doing it more. Yeah, he's doing it more in a way that he's trying to see where they're at so he can put a move on them, not because he's scared of them hitting him. At least that's the way it looks to me.
All right, Tony, I'm going to give you an opportunity here. Even though you corrected yourself, Mr. Wilbar's giving you some throwing some shade at you. DJ must have added a lot of weight to be an all-pro tight end. So should we put Wilbar in timeout for that?
I mean, it's the internet. It's the internet, and you know how it is on the internet. Once you make a mistake, it's there forever. So I have to own that mistake. I said tight end instead of receiver when I meant to say offensive lineman. I'm sorry.
Speaking of offensive linemen, we've got a super chat from our good friend Sean Manahan, $2. As long as our O-line is ranked 16th, we are legitimate. I got to tell you, yeah, that's true. But we are going to talk about the offensive line because the offensive line is being counted on from some guys that have never been counted on. And we're going to talk about that O-line when we come back. And we're going to talk about Shannon's picks and Tony's picks for guys that we should be counting on that we've never had before. So stick around. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, you know what to do. You just stick around, let us stretch. And, it's 5 seconds. I know some people don't love it, but give us that 5-second stretch. And then if you are on YouTube, no, not YouTube. If you are listening to these YouTube shows on any of our podcast platforms, say maybe it's Thursday and you're rolling around in your car, getting ready for the game. And you're like, I want to see what BTSC is saying. And let's check out the Hangover because I missed it the other day. which that's what some people do. So if you're checking us out on there, we love you. Thank you so much. Go on over to number 2, and you will find out what we've got to say right after this on Behind the Steel Curtains, award-winning, in my own mind, The Hangover. Welcome back to The Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. His name is Tony Defeo. His name is Shannon White. Sometimes they call themselves Shannon and Tony, vice versa. That's how much of a unit they are together now, since they've done a show together just a couple weeks ago. In fact, they had a meeting. They were going to kick me off of this show, but I burst my way back in. I weaseled my way back, just like us. Jeff Hartman says about Jordan Berry. So, hey, we're talking about practice. No, we're not talking about practice. Well, actually, we're talking about practice.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about training camp. And there's another Ted Lasso that they had a whole we talking about practice thing in Ted Lasso. Check that show out. It's great. It's a football coach that ends up, if you don't know about this show, do you guys know about Ted Lasso?
What is he like? Lacrosse, or is it lacrosse?
No, he's a football coach. At Wichita State, and they win the fictional NCAA Division II championship. And so what happens is he ends up going to coach a Premier League soccer team in England.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't football. Yeah, or American football.
And it's Jason Sudeikis, who I think is absolutely brilliant. And this is a really funny show. It's up for 20 Emmy Awards. Wow. There's a lot of American football references, and then with the Premier League soccer, it's a stroke of genius. So I absolutely love it. So I'm quoting a lot of Ted Lasso, and Ted Lasso is probably the one character that you root for more than anybody. It's probably the nicest guy ever. And so I love this character. So So Wichita State does not have a football team, as Kathy Ford says, but they kind of make it, they give them a football team. And so they have like ESPN talking about the Wichita State football team. So it's really, I don't think they had a team. I know the Shockers have a good baseball team and a good basketball team, but
the Texas State Armadillos are fictional, and that was a good.
Texas State Armadillos with what? Who was the quarterback for the?
Of course, Scott Bakula.
Yeah, but what was his name?
Paul Blake.
Paul Blake. That's awesome. I love that movie.
It was a classic. It was a ripoff of Major League, but Major League was a ripoff of Bad News Bears. So whatever,
That's a great movie. I love that.
I love the assistant coach, his speech
at the end,
game. Because he thought his buddy was dying, the head coach. And then he's out there just swarping and swearing and all. And then he's like, "Let us pray." And I lost. That was awesome.
My favorite was when he said his last words to me were "win or I'll die."
Or I'll die. Exactly.
The great Robert Loggia.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
On a serious note, Kathy brings this up, and I did not know this. I had no idea the Wichita State team had a team, and they went down in a plane crash, and they never started it up again. So a lot like Marshall in 1971, but Marshall did start up a team again. That's interesting. I need to look into that, because that's an entire story that I am not familiar with.
Yeah, me either.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, live chat. That's awesome. Here we go.
Did you see that Felicia just said that Terrell Edmonds had surgery on his shoulder at some point? And I don't know if it was in the office. That's the first I've heard about it.
Okay, let's bring this up. Okay, Bad. Terrell Edmonds just had shoulder surgery, according to Mike Tomlin. But according to his college career, he has shoulder surgery on the left side. So should we worry about him?
It's probably just a cleanup job, arthroscopic.
I mean, it wasn't today.
It could have been. It could have been a month or two ago. I mean, I don't know, but
yeah,
because I thought he's been out there, ain't he?
Yeah, that would be major. That would be major news if he had surgery like today or recently. It probably had to be in the off season, like you said,
It's
just a
probably
cleanup
just
job.
a cleanup. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? That's something I will not discount. If Felicia heard that, that's something to look into. That's really interesting. I have not heard that. Mm-hmm. So, what? Well, I'm looking into this. When I put in shoulder surgery, he had shoulder surgery as a Hokie and missed the rest of the season at Virginia Tech. But I don't know whether that was his when he was a redshirt junior. So I'm not completely sure, but that's something to I'd love to hear the oh, here we go. As we're now I'm just surfing online, but there's some merit to this. Terrell Edmonds was on the sidelines. He had off-season surgery. So
yeah.
Mike Tomlin was discussing Terrell Edmonds' off-season surgery. So that's but he's been on the field for drills. So I like what Tony had to say about the cleanup, possibly being a cleanup job. And if he's out there, then he should be fine. Is that something to worry about if it's cleaned up? Probably not.
No.
But awesome job, Felicia. Thank you so much for letting us know that. That's interesting. I did not know that. So there you go. We do learn some stuff from our live chat. Great job. So
yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Kathy and Felicia bringing the news today. I love it.
I missed it.
So now I've got to look up Wichita State too. Now I'm really interested in that. That's in fact, I think I'm just going to leave the show right now and just go surf. So I think I'll do that. Hey, are you guys watching the Olympics? Let me ask you that real quick as I just go into a complete. I just go completely off the grid. Are you watching the Olympics at all?
I'm trying to. I'm trying to watch as much as I can, but it's hard because I have basic cable, so it's hard to really. It's on all these NBC sister stations, I guess, and so it's harder for me to keep up. But I'm trying to watch. I'm trying to watch as much volleyball as I can.
Do you like regular volleyball or do you like beach volleyball?
I like them both, but I'm a big fan of beach volleyball. The 2-on-2,
awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of my Mrs. Bad and I are watching a lot of swimming. And now the swimming's kind of tailing off. I mean, but wow, amazing, just amazing. And I've been in a little fight. You've noticed on the Slack channel, I've been in a fight with Maddie Peverell because Maddie's talking about all the Australian guys, the Aussie women. Mm-hmm. And he was dissing my girl, Katie Ledecky, who probably lives her hometown's about 45, 50 minutes from me. And, a Maryland girl. I love Katie Ledecky. She's absolutely amazing. What she did in the 800 and the 1500 is awesome. But so I might have to fire Peverell just because of the Aussie swimmers. I don't want to.
Mark Davis to take over. Yeah.
He's a fantastic podcaster, as Peverell.
Yeah.
But if he keeps on dissing Ledecky and bragging about Katie McEwen and
gotta go. He's got to
Titmus, Ariane Titmus. I mean, I gotta make a call here. So if you want to save, I tell you what, if you want to save Maddie Peverell, let's go ahead and see if we could get $25 in the $25 in the super chat to save Peverell's job. Let's see what we got to do. So there we go. Speaking of, but anyways, I want to talk about swimming. So the commentators in swimming, you've got Dan Hicks and Rowdy Gaines. Have you caught any of these guys, Shannon White?
I really haven't been watching the Olympics.
You haven't been?
No, I'm trying to pay attention to, a lot of the Twitterverse as far as what's going on at camp and stuff. And then, I've suffered through the Pirates, but, trying to stick with them and watch them try to rebuild this situation, this organization. But, I haven't really watched hardly any of the Olympics.
That's the Olympics have been awesome for me. I've really enjoyed it. Rowdy Gaines is is the color commentator, and I would love to see him for the Steelers. I think he would be amazing. I don't know if he knows much about football, but he's an Olympic gold medal champion from 1984. He's fantastic. In fact, this guy is he's so excited. We've got a hashtag Save Maddie. Kathy Forrest just gave us $5. Hashtag Save Maddie. And Donald Nolan. And I'm loving this. Don't even think about it bad. Maddie P stays. I love this. Coming to the aid of one of my guys. But I have to come down on him. So, for going after Ledecky like that. So, but anyway, so he's only $20 away from keeping his job. So, good job, live chat. Thank you. But Rowdy Gaines is so exciting when these guys are coming from behind. I was thinking about this. Not that I'm ever going to have one, but I always thought if I ever had my own sex tape, I would want Jack Fleming or Myron Cope to do it. I think that would be great, them commenting on it. Now, since they both passed away, I would want Rowdy Gaines to call my sex tape. That is how exciting he gets you. So, I mean, I could be bad at it.
I got to watch swimming more. I have to start paying attention to this guy.
I was supposed to do this whole bit yesterday. I even teased it yesterday on Tales from 2 a.m. and I forgot about it at the end. So I just wanted to bring it here. But Andrew Wilbar says, and this is great. Caleb Dressel was absolutely awesome with his 5 gold medals. Caleb Dressel said he could hear Rowdy saying, "Welcome to the club" from the pool. So that's why that is definitely why I want Rowdy Gaines to be the next Steelers color commentator. I think he's great. Hey, I didn't say anything dirty. All I said was sex tape. That's it. You don't have to. If you picture it, that's up to you.
That's clean and wholesome.
That's on you.
Yeah.
So anyways, Wilbar says, now you only have to pay 20 yourself, Maddie. USA JK, we love the Down Unders. Yeah, I love the Down Unders here, but yeah, I mean, Peveril, I tell you what, you go after the Olympic swimmers. I mean, I know you're Aussie proud, but Davison didn't do that. Did he? Mark Davidson didn't bust up on the American swimmers.
No. And now he's probably saying, please don't pay because I want to have my own show.
Now, you know what? Davidson's probably over in Japan right now, trying to meet all the Olympic swimmers.
With that Australian accent. It works.
Yeah.
He said it worked.
He's probably over there meeting the ladies.
He's cleaning up.
I guarantee you. I definitely. No, Donald Nolan, you're never complaining. I love that you're supporting my guy. I mean, in the end, Peveril's my guy, but we've got to raise some money to keep him now. After going off after my Olympic swimmers. So anyways, guys, we've been talking about the guys who have not been counted on in the past for the Steelers. The never been counted on. So with that being said, Shannon, who is your choice for the guy that we should be counting on now that we weren't in the past?
My first choice?
Yeah.
I would have to probably go with his last name's Coward. And he's I think they've got him at left guard.
Rashad.
Yeah, and he's been filling in for Dotson, who hasn't been able to get out there yet. He's been out in pads and stuff, but he ran a little bit with the second team, I think, but he was in shorts, just going through drills. But Coward is a guy that is a really powerful run blocker, struggles a little bit with the pass protection because he's even done reps for the Bears at tackle. But I think he needs to be on the interior at guard. But just with the situation we have, I think he will be an important addition this season at some point.
Tony, I like the whole Rashad Coward here because they brought this guy in. They brought Joe Hagan as well, but they bring these guys in and nobody's counting on them as nothing but backups. So would you see a guy like that as being beneficial to this team that we could probably count on? Out of left field.
That's because I wasn't even thinking about him, but Shannon brings up a good point. I mean, with the unit collectively kind of struggling just to get on the field at the same time at camp. I mean, you never know who you might have to count on. Dan Moore's another one. I mean, that's one that you hear that he's playing with the first team a lot or getting a lot of looks at left tackle. Shukes hasn't been practicing all that much so far. So there's somebody that at some point during the year they might have to count on, much like they counted on Kevin Dotson last year at guard when they had those rash of injuries. So Dan Moore's another one you might have to. He might have been somebody you weren't really counting on, but you might have to count on him once the year gets rolling.
I was about to say, Cree brought up Kendrick Green. You're bringing up Dan Moore. I was about to say, let's not bring up the rookies, but you're right though, because the draft picks, we weren't counting on Kevin Dotson last year for anything. In fact, we said that if Kevin Dotson comes in, it's going to be a disaster because someone's hurt or someone's not playing well at all with all the guys in front of them. So that's why Dan Moore is a really good pick here, because we weren't counting on him before camp. We're not counting on a guy like Trey Norwood either. Now we're counting on Presley Harvin. We're counting on Najee Harris, and we're counting on Pat Freiermuth and Kendrick Green.
Right.
But we're not counting on a Buddy Johnson. We're counting on them to learn. Alex Flores brings up a really good one, and I think this could actually be a big one. A guy that a lot of people are down on because we didn't see anything from him. But Derek Watt, can he get some action in this Matt Canada offense? Because it looks like he's getting it in camp so far, Shannon White.
Well, last week we talked about, I think it was Brooke Pryor said that she's seen a pass, wheel route to him and been through it. And I had to point out that he didn't catch it. He dropped it. But in today's reports, it was tweeted that they threw another wheel route to him and he caught it for a 25-yard gain. And, that got a lot of people excited because we know he can run block if they would ever used him, from his time at San Diego. But, with the way that he's going to be moved around the formation, used a little bit like an H-back. I think he can really contribute in the Matt Canada's offensive system.
I definitely think he can too as well. Now, you mentioned blocking, and one of the most important things, we haven't counted on this offensive line yet. We really haven't. Now, we're counting on Kevin Dotson, so let's keep Kevin Dotson out of the mix because we know that we could count on him because of last year, or at least we're counting on him. Mm-hmm. But Zach Banner, we got half a game, 3 quarters out of him, almost 4 quarters last year. Zach Banner. I'm counting on Zach Banner, but he hasn't really been counted on yet. We haven't had to count on him. Do you think he's number one on that offensive line besides Dotson as the one we're counting on the most, or is it Chooks? Tony, I'll start with you.
Gosh, I think somebody we're counting on. I would have to say Banner because if I'm understanding the question right, he only played 1 game last year, whereas Chooks has been he's had more of a track record in the league. So I think I think I'm a little more comfortable with him than a lot of people are based on his first few years in the league, whereas Banner we really don't know yet because he's only played in 1 game.
Shannon, the Chooks thing is interesting because he's swapping over to left tackle. Now, there was a comment by Kevin Colbert last week that I found very interesting. He said that if the battle last year between Zach Banner that was won by Zach Banner over Chooks for right tackle would have been for left tackle, then Chooks would have won that because he is more of a left tackle. So, Shannon, what are your thoughts about Chooks? Who's this team counting on more? I mean, they could be counting on both. I'm sure they are counting on both. But I think Tony has got a point there because we've kind of had to count on Chooks was the guy we had to start counting on or thinking about last year because he has more experience starting now. And Banner doesn't have the starting experience that Chooks does after last season. Shannon.
Well, neither guy has really experience starting where they're going to be starting. Okafor was brought in to be a left tackle. He's more finesse than power. He's very smooth. He slides well. He's light on his feet, long arms. He's not a power player, which you want predominantly on the right tackle, especially with the right-handed quarterback. Okafor, I believe, has the length and the quickness to protect Ben's blind side. I think it's actually Okafor is even more important because I think Heyward could slide to right tackle, a position he played at with Chicago. Whereas I don't think we have anybody. Dan Moore a rookie is going to back up Okafor at left tackle. I don't want to see Dan Moore in the game this year. I mean, he's a rookie, and like Highsmith has been destroying him at camp. We've seen some video footage of it. And that's not a fair matchup. Highsmith has really made a huge leap here in number 2. But I think Okafor is actually even more important than Banner because one, he's protecting, your future Hall of Fame franchise quarterback's blind side. But I think he can do it because it's actually the position that he was brought in to play. And Banner, I have a lot of faith in him. I know he's massive and he can move bodies. And, if he can stay healthy and that knee holds up, I feel good about it. But I also feel better about Heyward backing him up than I do Dan Moore Jr. backing up Okafor.
Very interesting. So we are going to be counting on an entire offensive line this year that we really haven't had a chance to count on, with the exception of a Kevin Dotson. So that's something to be said there. Tony, do you have one more as far as a guy that we're counting on? I know you brought up Dan Moore Jr. Or was that your guy?
I'm kind of intrigued what people think about Joe Haeg, because he was a guy who, when he came in with 32 career starts, he can play both tackle and guard. I mean, there's somebody that might have to save your bacon a time or two this year if there's an injury. He seems to me like a cheaper, maybe less talented version of Matt Filer. What do you guys think of him? Because when they brought him in here back in March, I think people were kind of satisfied with him as being somebody who could be a decent backup, a versatile backup. But now you kind of hear people are kind of losing confidence in him. At least the fans are, anyway.
Well, as long as they don't throw to him in the Super Bowl like Tom Brady did, and he dropped that ball. But yeah, I don't have a problem with Joe Haeg because he's brought in to be a backup. You're not going to have 53 superstars on a team,
right?
So you've got to have pieces of the puzzle. I talk about that when I talk about Terrell Edmonds all the time. We talked about Ryan Clark yesterday on Tales from 2 a.m. Ryan Clark was not a superstar. But Ryan Clark turned into a valuable player because he was a piece of the puzzle. When they brought him in 2006, I was like, who is this guy?
Right.
And then when he was there and starting, you're like, thank goodness for Ryan Clark.
Right.
So, you're not going to have 53 superstars. You're not going to have 53 first rounders. You can't afford 53 first rounders. And that's just not the way a team is built. Teams are built with Joe Haeg's and Rashad Cowards in mind. You've got to have those guys as backups to come in and do well. I think they're the kind of players that could come in and do well. If they have to spot start, they might have an opportunity to be a good starter.
It depends on, with Haeg, it depends on, are you going to get the Indianapolis Colts version or are you going to get last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers version? But if you really look at both situations, he was a better fit with the Colts. He had more experience and more time with the Colts. He might be a better fit with the Steelers than he was with Tampa Bay. But I think the reason a lot of people have not been as high on him is because they remember him last year, and he struggled pretty much for the Buccaneers.
Now I'm gonna call. There's some talk about Trey Turner in the live chat, and I want to bring up Russ. Russ says I'm really liking Trey Turner. Now I'm going to bring up Andrew. Andrew, I respect his opinion, but I got to ask you, Andrew, when you say Turner has not exactly looked good so far, that was one commenter on like day 2 of camp. Have you seen anything from Trey Turner? And I'm not challenging you. I'm just like asking if there's been more that I'm missing, because I know Kabali on Filipponi's show mentioned that. So I don't know. I mean, can we really take this as gospel when we haven't seen the guy in a preseason game yet?
No, it's too early.
Right.
It's way too early. And he's, what I mean is he's just getting familiar with his surroundings, his teammates. He's getting into shape. There's like 4 guys that I really follow who are at the camps daily. And he's this guy that said that he wasn't looking good is not somebody that I follow, and I'm not going to name who he was, but like you said, it was really one report. And it was even, I think, the second day of camp even.
Yes.
Yeah. They weren't even in pads yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something that all I'm going to say is something that we've got to go ahead and take into consideration when we hear these reports from camp, that some of them are early assessments.
Yeah.
And some of these guys have not seen a lot of action. I'm going to wait until I want to see Trey Turner play football on Thursday night. And I'm hoping he gets some action. Guys, let's close up the show with a question here. We're talking about Thursday night. Who do you not expect to see whatsoever? We know it's going to be Ben. And I don't expect to see TJ Watt either. I don't expect to see Cam Heyward.
No.
But who else do you not expect to see?
I don't think Najee Harris is going to play. I know a lot of people are excited about him, but I think he's there. I think, like we talked about last week, he's head and shoulders above anybody that they have on the roster as far as running backs. So I think as far as whether he's a real deal or not remains to be seen. As far as him being the most talented running back on their roster, he is certainly that. So I think they're going to hold, not the whole camp, but I think they're going to hold him out for the first game.
He's lobbying to play the full Hall of Fame game, which you got to love that about this guy.
Yeah. But he's one player I don't expect to see.
Shannon.
Any of the guys coming back from injury of any sort, which is, like we already know, a lot of the offensive linemen, the projected starters, you won't see them. Not this game. And, like Banner got one snap in today, of live action. They took him right off the field. He didn't get injured, but they're just easing him back.
Right.
Okafor hasn't been out there. Dodson ain't been out there. So we're going to get to see these backup guys and these young guys, Green and Moore and, Coward and so really focus on them, and you can learn a lot just by the way they handle this situation. TJ Watt hasn't practiced. I mean, he's going through, some conditioning and drills, but everybody's saying it's because they're working on his contract, his extension, and he definitely don't want to get hurt in camp in the middle of this. So they've been holding him out anyway. I think you'll see that with a lot of guys. If they're dealing with anything, like if Edmonds still recovering, he ain't going to be in there. And it'll give these young guys like Haskins, who has so much to prove, it'll give him a chance. Rico Bussey, at wide receiver, and Jameer Jones, at edge. All these guys are going to get a real chance on national TV to show what they can do, and I hope they take advantage of it.
I cannot wait to see some of these guys. Like, I don't want to see guys that we know are known commodities. Somebody Creed just asked, do you think we'll see Highsmith? I don't care if we do.
No, I'd rather not.
I want to see Jameer Jones. I want to know what he has to do.
Yes.
I want to see
Roche.
Exactly. I want to see Cassius Marsh.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see some of these guys that could be the future.
Yeah.
Not saying that Cassius Marsh is the future, but he's he could be a heartbeat away from playing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, like Miles Killebrew is another one. He was essentially a special teams guy in Detroit. He barely had any defensive snaps. If they're counting on him to be a backup here, either at inside linebacker or especially safety, I'd like to see what he can do.
I absolutely cannot wait for this game. And the fourth quarter, when you see some of these no names, don't tune out. Mm-mm. Those are the guys you need to see. You need to know. I remember, the last thing I'm going to say is I remember from about 4 years ago, the Steelers were playing the Titans on a Saturday. It might have been 3 years ago. They're playing them on a Saturday, and I'm driving back from vacation, and we pulled into a restaurant, and I was like trying to see the game on my phone, and I caught a little bit of this game, and I think it was Landry Jones that threw an interception to this guy, and I noticed this player on the other team for the Titans making this interception.
Yeah, I know where you're going,
and it was Robert Spillane, who ended up a Steeler. Yeah. So for some reason, I never forgot Robert Spillane. And then when he ended up in Pittsburgh, I'm like, oh, I know who that guy is.
It didn't help him make the Titans, though.
No, it didn't help him make the Titans. Helped him make the Steelers, probably.
Yep.
There you go. Because next thing you know, he's on the Steelers the next year. So, pay attention to some of these guys. That's why when anybody says that preseason doesn't matter, I think it matters. Because it matters to these guys, and they are they're making their future. I mean, Duck Hodges doesn't make the team, and I don't spend money on this jersey for if he doesn't do well in that preseason game against the Carolina Panthers. Mm-hmm. You know, and so the rest ends up being history for there wasn't a long history with Duck in Pittsburgh, but yeah, it's definitely a big deal. I cannot wait. Steelers have 4 games. Cowboys have 4 games. Every other team has 3. So I'm really excited to check this out. Tomorrow night, a programming note. There is no Scobro show. The Scobro show was on last night. So if you missed the Scobro show last night, go head back and check it out. Anywhere that you find Pittsburgh Steelers BTSC podcasts on your favorite podcast platform, or you can check it out here on YouTube as well. So check that out. Tomorrow night is going to be the Steelers preview as we move that show. We can't do it on Thursday night. You don't want this face distracting you from watching Dwayne Haskins play quarterback, do you? No. So we're going to be on Tuesday night. On Wednesday night, we are going to have Jeffrey Benedict's out, but we are going to have the curtain call. It's as it morphs back into Know Your Enemy. We're going to be talking about teams from the North, the AFC North. It's going to be Michael Beck along with a special guest from that I had on the other day. So Kevin Tate will be back on tomorrow. So check that out as well. We might have one of his podcast buddies too that will be talking about the Cowboys as we morph back into the little Know Your Enemy segment that I think is one of the best shows that we have in season. So check that out as well. So with that being said, Tony and Shannon, thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate you.
I had a blast.
I
can't wait for some football.
Yeah, let's do it. So the next time we'll really be hungover because there's gonna be some football and it is going to be glorious. So with that being said, I need you to do 3 things for me. 1, be safe. 2, be true to yourself. And 3, always be behind the steel curtain. And just when you think you've got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Good night. Love you, BTSC, Steeler Nation.